Welcome to our webinar for the introduction to Bluebeam Revu. So what I wanted to kind of start off with here is the agenda. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of information about us, who we are. I'll give you a little bit of information about Bluebeam, Bluebeam Revu, and then we're really gonna cover, why Bluebeam Revu? Why does it make sense? And in that, we're going to start covering, or we're going to kind of talk about a few of peer case studies that we have kind of collected data from. And I want to say these have been kind of widespread. We did get some case studies from companies all over the United States. And we tried to kind of get different views from I would say different types of users, different disciplines, whether it's a general contractor, someone doing design like an engineer, or a GPS technician, just different views on how to use this program in different ways that they can use it. Then we're going to go into review and action. So I'm going to show you some of these tools live in review. We're going to talk about what tools have been beneficial, what workflows have been beneficial, and then we're going to kind of go into review to show that. And then we have 4 tips for going digital with Bluebeam Revu. Okay, so 4 tips that we're going to help with implementation, adoption, and just overall use of Bluebeam Revu. All right, so a little bit about us, Topcon Solutions. We are the retail arm of Topcon Positioning Systems, the world leader in construction layout, machine automation, and land surveying products. Along with selling the complete portfolio of Topcon products, Topcon Solutions is also a platinum tier award-winning Autodesk Value reseller. And we are also a platinum level Bluebeam partner with certified instructors on staff. We are in, we currently have 13 brick and mortar locations, but our span kind of goes out over 20 different states and Washington, D.C. So I'm your presenter today. My name is David Campbell. I'm an application specialist for the Topcon Solutions Store. So I am a Bluebeam certified instructor, Bluebeam certified consultant. It is my job for TSS to go around and help with teaching Bluebeam, implementing it, consulting, different things like that. So this is why I wanted to host this webinar for everyone today to kind of share this information about Bluebeam Revu. So some of our learning objectives, some of my goals for everyone in this webcast to learn today would be, 1, how industry peers are using Bluebeam Revu, what features or workflows are critical to their companies, and then why. So what reasons, why did they choose Bluebeam Revu? Oh, just getting a drink of coffee there. So Bluebeam, the company was founded in 2002. Now, with more than 1.6 million customers in more than 130 countries, Bluebeam is growing. They're constantly expanding. And as we can see, we have a lot of users that trust Bluebeam solutions to work smarter. Their collaborative platform, Bluebeam Studio, has hosted over 27 billion, yes, that's billion with a B, interactions since they launched it in 2010. And Bluebeam currently supports 30 international user groups and industry organizations pursuing standards and advancing AEC technology concepts worldwide. I have a case study from Corsmo Construction out of Seattle, Washington. Now, Forrest Tuff here is a good friend of mine. He's a VDC manager, and he quoted for us before Bluebeam that you had to maintain your own as-builts, and there could be 30 or as many as 30 different versions of the same, document set. Now, the problem with that is that people like to maintain their own sets. Even within teams, you could have so many different sets of information, and that left them with the potential to miss information depending on what person they saw. And using Studio projects, so Bluebeam Studio projects, they can ensure proper documentation like the versioning and allow access to individuals who need information, alleviating the potential for misinformation. Now, he quoted for us, for general contractors, the best tool available is Bluebeam Revu. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit about projects today. So I'm going to log into Studio, and while I'm doing this, this gives me a really good kind of talking point. I want to let you know that Studio is completely free. Bluebeam Studio is completely free. It is included with every version of Bluebeam Revu, whether you have Standard, CAD, Extreme, or if you download the free version, just the PDF reader, right? You're gonna have access to Studio. Now, speaking of Studio projects, these Studio projects are listed out here, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump into one real quick, but as it's loading up for me, I wanted to talk about Studio projects in itself and Studio. Studio is the online kind of collaborative environment for Bluebeam Revu. And with Studio, it's broken down into two different portions, projects and sessions. Projects, as we're seeing here, is broken down into a folder structure. So I like to think of this as more of a document management system or project management, okay? In this sense, as Forrest was saying, we can keep all of our documents here organized, very organized. And we can actually assign permissions. Of course, we can invite or allow access for anyone who has a Studio account. And as I was telling you guys, that Studio account is free and it's included whether you have a paid version or not. So you can invite them here. And what you can do is set permissions overall, okay, for the project as a whole, but also drill down and set folder permissions as well for every folder that you have. If you have teams out on the site that need access to specific data, right? You want to control the documents and the versioning that they are seeing out in the field. You can do that. If you have admin that need, submittals, RFIs, or they need to, take information, any CSVs or anything we're producing from the field, any timesheets, any daily reports, we need to pull that into some other program, we can do that as well. Speaking of that, projects can also host any file type of any file size. So you're not limited to PDFs. You're going to see DWGs, RVTs. Now, I'm hosting these just because it's a good example of any file type, right? But something that makes a little more sense might be daily reports. If I open up my Excel spreadsheet here, it's going to open up right inside of Excel. Actually, it's going to push outside of Revu, go into Excel. I can adjust it as much as I need to and push it back in. So this is a huge part or a huge key to Corsmo Construction's workflow in the sense that their personnel need to make sure they have the most up-to-date and accurate information. So as we get new plan sets, we can load this information here, and essentially what we can do is keep track of we can essentially either slip sheet, we can replace, or we can kind of version documents through folders, we can archive it, kind of whatever the workflow may need to be. We can control that data and what people are seeing out in the field, all right? Or at least in general, it doesn't even need to be out in the field. It can be, any project partners that you're collaborating with through the design process, or anyone that you're working with as an engineer. You're working with the designers, and you may need to collaborate and give them information, right? So speaking of, I'm going to go into my next case study. And my next case study comes from Richard Lombardo with Preferred Electric. So this one, I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a different route, and I wanted to kind of compare Adobe to Bluebeam. So the quote that Richard gave me was, to start, during the first year he was using Adobe, and the simplest and greatest difference between the two software systems that he saw was the panning tool. He said that you could click and drag to view any of these details inside of Revu, and it was a fast and seamless process. Dragging that mouse wheel, or pushing it forward, pulling it back to zoom in and zoom out, holding it down and moving around. He said that he felt like he was costing his company money, the amount of time he was spending clicking and dragging inside of Adobe. But navigating through Bluebeam with either the mouse wheel or hyperlinks or just the sheet navigation, the document navigation down towards the bottom of the interface itself, just makes it a breeze. Now, at the same time, Richard let me know that the utilization of the calibration and measure tool has saved him so much time. He typically takes the longest known dimension and calibrates the drawing, and then you can click your two ends of your desired measurement, and there you have it. They use it for the bidding process to generate comprehensive bids, especially when they're taking off distribution equipment. And they can get exact measurements for specialty fixtures, which is extremely important because they want to get an accurate quote. Those specialty fixtures can be really expensive. And he says for us, all in all, I believe Bluebeam is the future of the industry and there is nothing that can stand in its way. So I wanted to also show off this this calibration and, oh, you know, I forgot to, let me do this. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I check this out. I did not think to tell you guys this in the first time. For projects, and this is an interesting kind of talking point as well, you do have to check out the document in order to mark up on it, to manipulate it, things like that. So it is a check-in and check-out workflow. Let me close this one. I'm gonna leave that open. I'm gonna close down that panel there. I'm gonna zoom in over here to find my scale. So as Richard said, he typically likes to take the longest dimension. I will either do that or I will calibrate off the document scale, okay? And to do that, I'm gonna go right up to Tools. I'm gonna find my way to Measure and then Calibrate. So you always wanna calibrate the drawing before you go to take a measurement, really, and then double check it with a length measurement, just to make sure that the scale has set. So I click first on the 0, then I click on the 32 feet here. And this drawing has been scaled, so you can see that it's actually retaining that scale information. I don't have to do this every time I want to go in and take measurements. If I scale it once and save it, it retains that information. So I'd like to, let's see. Oh, this was a bad one. I don't have any dimensions on it, but what I can do is go ahead and take a quick measurement here. And let's go from the wall. I'll hold down the Shift key. And all right, we know that that ADA stall there is 5 feet, so that complies with those ADA standards there. That's just a good example for me to use there. I could also probably grab this door. I'd probably go from the inside of the door jambs, but that's fine. 3'4", that makes sense. Okay, so it's a quick, easy way to take nice and simple measurements. Now, this length tool here can be used in so many different ways. One, of course, to take the length, but if we get into the actual measurement properties of this, we can adjust how this measurement works, right? There's so many different ways that we can utilize this information, and that's not even getting into the actual the rest of the measurement tools. I guess here we have a kind of plethora of them with the poly length, the area, diameter, volume, and the count tool is also a very awesome tool. So I'm going to get back into my presentation here. All right. So up next, I have a quote from Jesse Hornbuckle, who is a GPS technician with Dirt Logic Incorporated. Jesse says, before Bluebeam, they would commonly receive drawings that have been changed by engineers, and the engineers forgot to notate what's changed in the drawings. Now, I've heard this is a common thing in our industry, and depending on the size of that project, finding those changes and reflecting them in our drawings can cost more time and money, right? Somebody has to figure out what's changed. So Jesse here uses Bluebeam's document comparison and overlay tools, and it helps them find any changes that were not notated that weren't notated from the engineering team, allowing his team to make the needed adjustments and keep moving forward. And honestly, he was telling me that feature saves not only the client's money, but it also saves them time and money, because somebody doesn't have to go through and physically go through every sheet and mark what these differences are, because they're going to have to take time concentrating on that to find it. Now, Bluebeam is very intuitive. It makes navigating documents and finding details a breeze. So that's another just shout out to navigating with Bluebeam Revu. He says the markups help bring attention to details, and then we can make an itemized list of all the markups. You get what you pay for, and bottom line, Bluebeam is absolutely worth it. So I'm going to show a couple things here. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that document. I'm going to go ahead and check that in, so I don't have to worry about that later. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up one of my floor plans, and I'm going to grab the revision of that floor plan as well. All right, so we'll see on this revision, they've made some clouds, but as we can see, they also haven't. I know that door is not supposed to be there, but let's say that we don't, right? We want to use either document comparison, so Bluebeam's document comparison tool, or the overlay tool to show us the differences between the two. And personally, my favorite is going to be the overlay tool. And to find these, you're going to go to the document tab in Bluebeam, and then there's overlay pages. Now, the beautiful thing about this workflow is, again, it's going to take these two PDFs, and with overlay, it's going to compare them together by literally overlaying them like a light table. And what it's going to do is assign each of these documents a colored layer. And then essentially, as it overlays them, we should see the differences between the two. Okay, so we can see here is the revision. Oh, that's actually there, so that's fine. But we'll also see, they added a door here. Obviously, it changed the wall there. This one's a simple line style, but it tells us exactly what changes with, the two documents, or what's changed between the two. You're going to see with document compare, it actually clouds the differences between the two documents. Okay, so I'm going to see right in here that it clouded. I didn't originally have a door here, didn't have a door here, different things like that. It's going to go ahead and cloud all of those differences that it sees. So document comparison clouds and places a markup, which is also, again, trackable in our markups list. So I'm going to see each one of these revisions on the document. And I can go ahead and print this out. I can actually send this either to a PDF, or if we use an Excel workflow to track these different changes and how these sheets have grown or are revised, we can go ahead and print this right into CSV. I apologize about that, guys. We can go ahead and print this into CSV and take this right out into Excel. Okay, so it's a very, very awesome process. Now, as we go through, and let's say that you wanted to do this multiple times, you can use revisions and Rev 1, Rev 2, Rev 3. We can always adapt any of these markups. And you'll notice that with something like this, revision 1, notice now it's separated from the rest. Okay, so Bluebeam also has some intelligent data in this markups list to kind of separate the markups that it knows are different, and kind of helps us organize them. So it just helps us kind of, again, keep that data and streamline that information to whoever it needs to go to. So I'm going to close out of these, and I will get back into my presentation. Now, for my final case study, this comes from Mark Engineering. I told you guys I tried to get a wide span, right? We tried to get a few different viewpoints on how companies use Bluebeam Revu. So John Graves tells us that he uses Bluebeam for measuring, as well as getting areas, measuring PDFs to get areas, as well as directly commenting on drawings. So he actually also uses it as a tool to create PDFs. So it's kind of got that multi-use vibe going to it, right? We can create PDFs, of course, with it from any of our design applications. We can create PDFs from it within Bluebeam Revu itself. But as I showed you there a little bit ago, we can also use it to take those measurements, such as areas and lengths and volumes. Sean Campbell says, I really like Bluebeam's wide array of editing capabilities for inserting notes, clouding important details, or even drawing rough sketches. It also has an excellent PDF printer. So with drawing those rough sketches, I do want to go back into review real quick. You'll notice that we do have a grid and snap capability within review. So we can set our grid up however we need it, whether it's spaced at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, what have you. And we can use the Bluebeam markup lines and polylines to draft out different details that we may need information on quickly, whether it's from the field or it's in the office. If you collaborate through Studio, anyone, anywhere can have that drawing. And again, they can go and mark up as they need to, sharing that data, sharing that design intent or the constructability, what have you. But again, it kind of goes to show or goes to push, I guess, the speed of how this can improve that communication process, right? Just everybody having access to that information and then having the tools that we need to share or specify that information. Now, Kyle Russ says a big part of what he uses Bluebeam for is for reviewing PDFs of existing information on a project before and during design. He also uses it for printing review sets for projects, printing final permit sets for projects, and reviewing RFIs and submittals during the post-permit stages. So speaking on that point as well, Bluebeam Revu, of course, has a very powerful, markup engine. We've talked about the measurements and things like that, but let's push past that for a second and start looking at some of our forms. So Bluebeam Revu also has a great form engine. So let's take something like this RFI. This has pre-filled text boxes here that we can go ahead, or not pre-filled, but preset, I guess, text boxes that we can go ahead and fill with information, whether they're text boxes or their signature blocks, their dates, things like that. Now, maybe we don't have a digital form yet. Maybe we just have an RFI such as this, a blank form that we would typically print out or send and someone can go ahead and sign. With Bluebeam's form tools, such as right here, there we go, and automatically create form fields. Something like this is very powerful for helping us to, again, digitally replicate our forms and get them where we need them to be. Okay, so that was a very quick process, and it went and placed those text boxes wherever it detected a space for that text box to be placed. Okay, the lines, the text, it kind of looks at the content of the PDF itself and places these text boxes, or again, signature blocks, radio buttons. Some of those, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, some of those are better if you place them. The text boxes are great. They will go out and place themselves, but the radio buttons, the check boxes, some of those are better placed and organized yourself. And if you're curious, we do have a video on our website about digitally creating these forms, and we give some tips and tricks on how to create these. But this is a very strong engine for creating these forms, JavaScripting into them if needed, and connecting that data throughout the entire process of our project, right? So I'm not going to save that. And finally, Chris Hess lets us know that he enjoys the markup abilities that Bluebeam offers. In our industry, things are constantly being marked up, and this software helps with this significantly. And that's just another shout out to Bluebeam Revu's markup capabilities. And actually, I don't think I actually showed those, so I'll come into tools and then markup. So here are all of Bluebeam Revu's markup tools, the note tools, the Cloud Plus. It really just goes to, I guess, share information is really what these are concentrated on, either pulling attention to details, sharing information, column detail. Oh, if I could spell this morning, needed. There we go. And it's a very, very quick process. Right now, some of you are also maybe asking, is there anywhere else that we can get access to these tools, or how would I reuse these tools without having to go up to, tools, markup, and click it every single time? Well, one, I would advise you to have your reuse on, but two, I would go right over and look at that tool chest that Bluebeam Revu has here. Okay, the tool chest is huge at really allowing us to reuse tools, storing smart properties in our tools. So these measurements, right? The area measurements we were kind of talking about, the volume measurements. I have a volume measurement here, and that's a type 1, so I'm going to leave that one there, but I'm going to come up, where is this one? Flooring. Okay, perfect. So this is just specifically if I wanted to take a flooring measurement in, let's say, this bathroom here. I can quickly trace around and get the measurements for this room, okay? Now, what I wanted to really show here was not that, this is a great tool, of course. This is an awesome tool. This is our area tool here. But what I also wanted to show was that you'll see it keeps 4-inch ceramic tile. This floor knows what it is, okay? And when I pull up this markups list, it's tracked as flooring. And again, if I bring up I'm gonna bring up the label here. If I bring up my label for this, it knows that this is 4-inch ceramic tile. Every time I place this comment, that's what it's going to come up as, this area tool, excuse me. But that kind of goes to show the strength of that tool chest, whether it's storing your commonly used measurements, whether they're different types of flooring or different types of, wall paint, drywall, water fixtures, anything like that. We can keep a library of it. Even down to our actual comments themselves. Maybe we want to track when the architect makes comments, or the contractor themselves, an engineer, or maybe we have specific departments that we want to segregate this out to, and allow kind of an organization filtration of those kind of comments, so we can get down to the specific information that we need. And of course, these tool sets are all shareable. So they make it very nice and simple to post out this data and use this data. All right, so I wanted to kind of recover what we talked about. The markups, right? Those markups and those measurement tools. They allow us to digitally review drawings with specialized tools such as the clouds and customize their properties to fit your needs. And we can take calibrated measurements right from the document with tools such as length. The tool chest allows us to save our commonly used markups to the tool sets for any reuse and easy reuse, and you can allow anyone to use them with easy deployments across projects and teams. The markups list allows us to attach, track, sort, and filter markup data. Then, as I showed you guys, we can export that data for additional uses, whether it's in Excel, it's in PDF, what have you. We can kind of share that information however we need to. And because it does separate those comments by that intelligence that you store in them, with the properties, right? It allows us to, again, sort and filter through that to kind of customize those reports or that data that we're pushing out. And then again, Bluebeam Studio. So Studio allows us to review, markup, modify, and update documents with project partners worldwide. With Studio Sessions, which I didn't talk too much about, Studio Sessions is actually the online collaborative environment for the real-time collaborative environment for Bluebeam Studio. So Bluebeam Sessions, or Bluebeam Studio Sessions, allows you to host up to 500 people in one session to collaborate instantaneously. Well, depending on the broadband strength, right? Now, another good kind of note to that is that if anyone needs to take this session and go out to the field where they don't have Wi-Fi, they can simply step offline and place comments as they need to. And when they come back to any Wi-Fi, any internet, they can go ahead and come back online, and it's going to update all of their comments And what happens is the studio session document is hosted on the server. And as everyone comments and marks up on it, that server is kind of refreshing everyone else's data, everyone else's documents, so that when a new comment is placed, the document that you're looking at always has the up-to-date information, okay? That's Studio Sessions. So with Studio Sessions, we can connect project partners worldwide still, again, even the same as Studio Projects, but we can give them that real-time collaboration environment capability. And this allows us to reduce some of those response times and complete some of the project faster by working in real time with those project partners, also reducing printing, shipping, and rework costs by giving everyone access to those same sets of documents. All right, so time for those tips I was talking to you guys about earlier. So some of you may wonder, or may be asking, okay, this all sounds great, but what can we do to ease our transition into Bluebeam? Whether you're coming from an existing PDF reader writer, or this is brand new to you, you've never heard of Bluebeam, you're getting into it, or maybe you've heard of it, but you're just kind of seeing what these PDF softwares are all about. How can I go digital? Well, the first thing I would think would be PDF standards. Standards are going to allow us allow us to easily identify the drawing by name, the vector file types, in order to facilitate the most kind of efficient review for that document. The next thing I would say would be a pilot group. So get a pilot group going, test and gather feedback from subject matter experts from various departments to kind of refine that process that you're going through. The next one is tool standardization. Build a library of markup tools, your profiles and your stamps, to increase clarity and intent. So any of those tools that you need, start looking at those. The next one is reduce your time spent looking for plan sets by adjusting those naming conventions on your document. So whatever it is that you guys, I guess, need to transition through with that, you can reduce that time spent by adjusting or adopting those naming conventions. Let everyone know that Review 20 is here. So Review 20 is here, and we do have the free trial download available at topconsolutions.com/Bluebeam Revu. Okay, and then if you're looking for ways to make your digital transformation easier and faster, I gave you guys some tips on going digital, getting into this digital review process, or the digital kind of documentation process and document management process. If you guys are looking for ways to transition into this easier, such as Bluebeam Revu, you can rely on Topcon Services professional services team for full implementation and training assistance. We've supported many companies in establishing best practice processes for transitioning or adopting, implementing the software such as Bluebeam Revu. Whether you're new to the program or you've been using it for years, we have the right offering to help you deliver a best-in-class service for your clients, for your clientele. If you'd like more info on our services, you can email topconsolutions.com or respond to the survey that you receive after this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our contact information slide. If you are interested in getting more information on Bluebeam Revu, feel free to email info@topconsolutions.com.